I do think it's difficult on some level for casual fans to follow, in part because it doesn't operate, this tournament. That's what they call it. It's a tournament. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't operate like any other tournament we Americans are used to consuming. I know you can find some examples other places, but in the United States of America, we don't typically have tournaments like this. Like this, meaning with the NBA Cup in group stage, it's like on a Tuesday, you might play a group stage NBA Cup game with a crazy court. Mm-hmm. All right. And it's like, okay, that was fun. Then your next game could just be back to a normal court, no NBA Cup ramifications. Then the next game, you're back to the NBA Cup. Then another normal game. Then it's like you and I do this for a living. Mm-hmm. And I still have to wake up sometimes and go, okay, the Grizz are playing Denver tonight. Mm-hmm. Is that a Cup game or not? All right, now it's Philadelphia. Cup game or not?
Sure.
Next up, it's Chicago. Is this one of the Cup games or not? What about this game with Dallas? Is this a Cup game or not? I know we just did a Cup game, and I know we got another one coming up, but is this one, is the one tonight, is it a Cup game? It's not the type of anything nearly anybody is going to know off the top of their head, whether your favorite NBA team is playing a Cup game tonight or not. To be clear, I'm not suggesting it's too confusing for anybody to understand, right?
Sure.
I understand it. I'm just saying there's no way to understand it without really trying to understand it and taking time. And in this country, most tournaments, relatively speaking, are just way easier to follow. In this country, typically you start a tournament and everything you do between the time you start the tournament and the time you end the tournament is a part of the tournament. Do you see what I'm saying here?
Yes.
That's the NCAA tournament. That's the College World Series. That's the NBA playoffs. That's the NFL playoffs. That's the Major League Baseball playoffs. It's the college football playoffs that we're about to experience. But in the NBA Cup tournament, you're constantly bouncing in and out of the event. We're in the event today. We're out of the event tomorrow. We're in the event next week. We're out of the event the day after that. One game is an NBA Cup game. The next game is not. Perhaps it'll catch on someday, but for now it appears that it remains a work in progress, which is not to suggest I can't appreciate the attempt to create something compelling in a regular season that most metrics tell us fans don't care too much about, in part because some franchises refuse to prioritize it. So I understand the attempt. Let's try to create something in the context of our regular season that feels bigger, looks different, and we can say it matters, and people will believe that it matters, and players will believe that it matters, and we'll even incentivize them with money because, you know, if you win an NBA Cup, you're going to end up with more money in your direct deposit than you otherwise would. I understand the idea behind all of it. I just don't know if it's catching on the way they had hoped that it's catching on.
Yeah, I mean, so if I could think of like a comparison, right now the UEFA Champions League's going on in soccer, okay? And that's different big programs from different leagues playing each other in this big tournament.
They've been doing that for a long time, and they all understand it.
That's right. I believe that that's what the NBA, like when they're doing this, I think that's what they're trying to model this thing after, is what they do in soccer with these. You bring together these big programs from different leagues and play in this big tournament. And I know this is just NBA teams, but it seems like with the NBA Cup, they're trying to do what soccer does with these in-season style tournaments where they separate from their league play and do this one-off thing over here.
Soccer is the best example. Most Americans do not follow soccer seriously. And so, again, when we think of tournaments, we think of the NCAA tournament, I believe, first and foremost. Mm-hmm. But whether it's NBA playoffs, NFL playoffs, college football playoffs, it's okay. If you even have a group stage, it's like, okay, you're going to play your group stage games, then those will be over, and then you will either advance to the bracket or you won't. But there's not the, this is group stage, this is not. This is group stage, this is not. This is group stage, this is not. I know they might do that in soccer. We don't follow soccer like that in this country, not across the board. You know what we follow in this country? The NFL. And we see how they do tournaments. College basketball, we see how they do tournaments. Major League Baseball, we see how they do tournaments. Every other tournament we do in this country, with few exceptions, and certainly all of the big ones, they're very easy to consume. most of them don't have a group stage. And even if they do, everything that happens in the group stage happens together. And then you move on to the bracket, and a bracket is like one of the easiest things to follow in sports. That's like among the reasons the NCAA tournament is so big is because we have a bracket that all fits on one page. People can print it out, fill it out. They like doing that, going about decades. College basketball makes college basketball big, sure, like let's not overcomplicate it, but that bracket plays a role. The way it's constructed and the way that we do it, it's so easy to follow. You don't even have to know anything about basketball to be able to follow that bracket. And among the issues with the NBA Cup is that before you get to this bracket, everything is just confusing for most people.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I would, and I know there's a lot of things logistically that you would have to work through if you're the league, but I think to maximize this thing, if they want it to become a thing, I do think it needs to be like these 2 weeks blocked off for nothing but NBA Cup.
That's right.
You can regionalize it, so it's like Grizzlies, Hawks, Pelicans, whoever over in this corner. You know, you get the West Coast teams. You do your little round robin tournament style bounce around. You know, if teams get eliminated, okay, then the Hawks and the Grizzlies are going to play in Atlanta at the end of the week. I think you could figure it out.
You and I are completely on the same page here. I'm not saying get rid of the NBA Cup. I'm saying I think there's a better way to do this.
I do too.
I think there's a better way to do it. I like the idea. I like that you're thinking. I appreciate you thinking. I like big thinkers.
I do too. I like a tournament. I love a tournament. I love a bracket, man.
I love a bracket.
Yep.
I like this, the idea of it. I just think there's a better way to do it.
Yeah.
They need to tinker with it a little bit, and I bet you they will. And I think what you just suggested would be an improvement.
Yeah.
Whether it's a 2-week window or a 10-day window, however you want to do it, they know more about their schedules than I do. But I think to really elevate this to something that you want it to be, you need to carve out a window and say, in this window that we are about to experience, everything you see is going to be an NBA Cup game.
It's Cup week.
It's Cup week.
Yep.
You don't have to wonder, is this Cup week? Is this a Cup game? We just told you it's Cup week. What you're doing today is Cup games. What you're going to be doing 2 days from now is Cup games. What other franchises are going to be doing tomorrow, those are Cup games. And eventually these group stage Cup games will be over, and then we'll get to a bracket. And then if you want to keep following the NBA Cup, there's your bracket. That's easy to follow.
Yeah.
And if you're out of it, now we're just making the schedule so we can get all the teams that were eliminated. We got 8 in the Cup. We got 22 eliminated. We're going to take these 22 teams and start making games against each other. And you'll know that those aren't Cup games, A, because they're not in the bracket, and B, they don't have the big colorful courts anymore. That's just much easier to digest.
I completely agree. Yeah, I mean, because it was earlier in the season when we were, it was because the Cup games were always on Tuesday night, the qualifying games. And I think we had a game, maybe it was the Sixers or something, maybe it was the Clippers that was on a Thursday night. And I'm sitting here saying, yeah, we got a Cup game coming up. And it wasn't a Cup game.
That's the point. You and I do this for a living.
That's right.
If anybody should know, it should be us. But if I'm being completely honest with you, before I come and sit in this chair during the Cup portion of the schedule, I got to go look it up.
Yeah.
It's not something you automatically know, and it should be.
Yeah.
It should be something you automatically know, and it's not.
I also think that you could have a chance by doing it like that, where you do this just, round robin, like group play thing and regionalize it. You have a chance to create bigger rivalries in the league, which is something that the league needs right now is big rivalries. I think you got a chance to do that.
There's just a better way to do it.
Yeah.
I'll have the games on tonight.
Oh, me too.
I'll watch the semifinals on Saturday. I can't wait for the championship game next Tuesday night. Competition's competition.
Yep.
And if I remember correctly, we did, once we got to semifinals and championship game last season, there was an increased level of awareness and attention on those things.
Oh yeah, it got good. When you got down to like the Final Four or whatever it was, people were into it.
Yeah. So I can't wait to get there.
Yeah.
I just think there's a better way to do this. And I think they'd benefit from sitting down and really brainstorming and maybe even pulling you into the room, Bennett, because I see you got some good ideas this morning.
I'd like to talk, yeah.
I see you got some good ideas this morning.
Luke, let's clip this. Send it to the league.
Send it to the league.
Yep.
Bennett's got some ideas.
The Gary Parrish Show, live weekdays at 10 a.m.